Amanda was trying to move on with her life despite the pain of losing the baby she loved so much, until the day she received a mysterious video. In the video, to her absolute shock, Jenny, her best friend, appeared swapping babies at the hospital on that fateful night. Every second of that recording felt like a knife driven straight into Amanda's chest. The woman she trusted more than anyone else was there, committing the worst of crimes. The silence was shattered, and the truth, hidden for so many years, came to light in a clear and cruel image. Amanda felt anger, sorrow, and a burning desire for justice growing inside her. But above all, she knew it was time to turn the tables, even if it meant facing the worst nightmare of her life. What would Amanda do after uncovering such a betrayal? Get ready for a story of revenge, courage, and an unbreakable love that defies time.
Amanda and Jenny had known each other since childhood. They shared secrets, dreams, and even the wish to become mothers one day. When they found out they were pregnant around the same time, it seemed as if fate was smiling upon them both. Amanda had a stable marriage, a loving husband, and all the support she could ever want. Jenny, on the other hand, was facing motherhood alone, but claimed to be happy to have a friend to share the journey with. During the months of pregnancy, they exchanged messages after every ultrasound, shopped for baby clothes together, and even planned their babies' futures side by side. Amanda dreamed of a home filled with laughter, while Jenny spoke about raising her child with strength and independence. But behind Jenny's smile, there was a weight Amanda couldn't see, a mix of envy and bitterness toward her friend's perfect life. The final weeks of pregnancy arrived, and as if fate wanted to seal their bond even more, they both went into labor on the same day. The hospital was bustling, nurses rushing back and forth, but Amanda could only think about the moment she would finally hold her baby in her arms. Jenny also seemed excited, though her eyes hid something much deeper. The cries of two newborn babies filled the delivery room, a sound that blended relief and joy. Amanda, her face sweaty and eyes filled with tears, smiled as she saw her baby for the first time. In the room next door, Jenny also received the small bundle in her arms, feeling an indescribable warmth. The nurses quickly showed the babies to their mothers, allowing that first magical moment of contact. Soon after, as per protocol, they took the infants to another room for routine checkups. In the examination room, the atmosphere began to change. Amanda's baby cried loudly, showing vitality and health. But Jenny's baby seemed fragile, his cry weak and irregular. The nurse noticed something was wrong and urgently called the pediatrician. Minutes later, the tiny body no longer responded to any stimuli. The heavy silence and tense expressions confirmed the tragedy. Jenny's baby hadn't survived. Jenny, still in her hospital bed, waited for news with a mix of anxiety and exhaustion. When the nurse entered, the serious look on her face made Jenny's heart race. Upon hearing that her baby had died, Jenny felt her world collapse. The scream that escaped her throat was pure pain, a sound that seemed to cut through the air. She clung to the bedsheet, as if she could somehow keep reality from swallowing her whole. Through tears and sobs, Jenny quickly shifted from despair to a state of rage and denial. "No, it can't be! It can't be!" she repeated, her voice breaking. Then, as if a shadow had passed through her thoughts, a disturbing idea took shape. Amanda's baby was alive and healthy. Jenny knew Amanda had a modest life, with few resources, while she, Jenny, was surrounded by luxury. In that dark moment, a cruel decision began to form in her mind. The nurse tried to comfort her, saying how sorry she was, but Jenny interrupted, her eyes cold and determined. "You're going to help me," she said, in a tone that left no room for refusal. The nurse, confused and nervous, asked what she meant. Jenny then laid out her macabre plan: to swap the dead baby with Amanda's, making everyone believe she was the rightful mother. The nurse's shock was visible, but what Jenny offered next would shatter any remaining resistance. Jenny promised an absurd amount of money, enough to change the nurse's life completely. "A fat check, so you'll never have to work here again," she whispered. The moral dilemma instantly took hold in the nurse's mind. She knew what Jenny was asking was illegal, immoral, and cruel, but the temptation of financial security spoke louder. Within seconds, the decision was made. The two women got up and walked to the examination room. There, Jenny's baby lay still, wrapped in a white sheet. Amanda's, on the other hand, slept peacefully, his tiny face serene. The nurse looked at them both, her heart heavy. With trembling hands, she switched the ID tags, placing the dead baby in Amanda's bassinet and the healthy one in Jenny's. The act was quick, but heavy with emotional weight. Jenny approached Amanda's baby, now her son, and took him into her arms. A smile twisted by both guilt and satisfaction formed on her face. At the same time, the nurse carefully covered the lifeless baby, trying to ignore the lump in her throat. They both knew that from that moment on, they were bound by a dirty, dangerous pact. The nurse took a deep breath before carrying out the cruelest part of the plan. She walked slowly to Amanda's room, rehearsing the words in her mind. When she entered, Amanda greeted her with a tired but hopeful smile, eager to hold her baby again. The nurse swallowed hard before speaking. "Amanda, I'm so sorry, but your baby didn't make it." The words cut into Amanda like a sharp blade. Her smile vanished, replaced by a blank, incredulous stare. "What? No, that's impossible," she said, her voice beginning to tremble. She tried to sit up, but felt her strength drain away. The nurse, with false compassion, held her hand and shook her head, feigning sorrow. Amanda began to cry, a deep, raw cry from a place she didn't even know existed. Every tear seemed to carry a piece of her soul. Her breathing became labored, and the sense of loss was so overwhelming she barely processed what was happening. "I want to see my baby," she pleaded, clinging to the hope it was all a mistake. Following the plan, the nurse brought the lifeless baby, wrapped in a blanket, so Amanda could say goodbye. The weight in her arms, the coldness of his little body. Amanda knew in that instant there was no turning back. She hugged her son tightly, as if she could pour life back into him. "My love, Mommy's here," she whispered, as tears fell on the baby's still face. Meanwhile, in the other room, Jenny rocked the healthy baby in her arms, as if nothing had happened. She felt victorious, as if she had won an invisible battle. But deep down, a flicker of guilt threatened her sense of control. She tried to push away the thought that this baby wasn't hers. To her, it was enough to keep repeating, "Now he's mine." The nurse, though richer now, felt the weight of the crime clinging to her conscience. The images of that swap replayed in her mind like a dark film. Amanda's cries echoed in her ears, and each time she thought about what she had done, nausea consumed her. She knew that this secret could never get out, but she also knew secrets like this never stay buried forever.
Meanwhile, Amanda and her husband remained in the room, holding their lifeless baby, lost in a pain they didn't know how to endure. The room felt far too small to contain all that grief. With each passing minute, she felt the weight of absence, the sense that something was terribly wrong. But in that moment, her mind was far too numb to suspect the truth. Jenny, now lying down with the baby beside her, stroked his hair and mentally planned the future. She could already picture herself showing her son to friends and family, receiving compliments and gifts. To her, that child would be proof that she could still have everything she wanted, no matter the cost. After all, she thought, the world belongs to the strong. Amanda, on the other hand, felt nothing but emptiness. The distant sound of footsteps in the hallway, the cold hospital lights, the smell of disinfectant, it all felt like a nightmare. Yet even in the depths of her grief, something inside her, faint and almost imperceptible, began whispering that the story wasn't complete. A fragile whisper, but one that in time might grow into a scream. The baby's funeral took place days later, and Amanda felt shattered. She couldn't understand how everything had happened so quickly. Jenny stood by her side at every moment, offering hugs and words of comfort, while secretly holding on to a love that didn't belong to her. The months that followed were filled with deep mourning for Amanda. Her husband tried to keep the household running, but he watched as his wife sank further into sadness. Amanda avoided looking at babies on the street, changed the channel when diaper commercials appeared, and isolated herself more and more from the world. Jenny, on the other hand, introduced her son to everyone, saying he was the greatest blessing of her life. The baby grew healthy, unaware that he was living a lie built on pain and deceit. To everyone else, it was a story of triumph. To Amanda, it was an endless void. Even with the emotional distance grief had created, Amanda still believed in her friendship with Jenny. She saw her as a source of support, someone who, ironically, seemed to understand her pain. Never, not for a single moment, did it cross her mind that the woman she trusted with her life was in fact responsible for her worst moment. Years passed. Amanda learned to live with the pain, though the wound never fully healed. She and her husband tried to have more children, but failed. It was as if fate had ripped away her chance to be a mother. Jenny, meanwhile, continued raising the stolen child as her own, growing more and more distant from Amanda. As the boy grew older, Amanda couldn't help but feel a strange connection to him. Whenever she saw him, she felt something she couldn't explain, as if a piece of herself was there, staring back into her eyes. But she pushed those thoughts aside, believing they were just remnants of longing for the son she had lost. Fearing Amanda might suspect something, Jenny began limiting their contact. She made up excuses, avoided meetings, and became increasingly reserved. To Amanda, it simply seemed like their friendship was fading with time. Still, whenever they met, Amanda tried to keep the bond alive. After all, Jenny had been her best friend for her entire life. But Jenny's gaze carried a weight, a nervousness Amanda could never quite decipher.
One day, during a casual conversation, Amanda asked Jenny about her childbirth experience. She noticed a slight tremor in her friend's voice, but didn't think much of it. The truth was there, lurking, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Meanwhile, Jenny lived torn between guilt and the fear of losing what she had stolen. She knew that if the truth ever came out, she would lose not only the child, but also any respect or compassion she still had left. Amanda, for her part, never imagined that the friendship she had built over so many years had such a deep betrayal. She kept moving forward, trying to heal her own wounds, unaware that one day everything would change. At that moment, fate had yet to show its hand. But Jenny's lie could not last forever. Time, relentless as ever, was already setting the stage for the truth to explode. And so the story continued in silence. Jenny raising the stolen child, and Amanda living with the weight of a loss that wasn't real. Two parallel worlds, bound by a filthy secret that would one day surface. Little did they know, the truth was closer to being revealed than they could imagine. And when it happened, nothing, absolutely nothing, would ever be the same again. A few months later, as if life hadn't already taken enough from her, George, Amanda's husband, asked for a separation. The growing distance between them, the grief over the loss of the baby, Amanda's lack of enthusiasm for life. Amanda hadn't expected it. Her world, already shrouded in mourning for the loss of her child, now shattered even more. The house became silent, cold, and his absence echoed in every corner. Amanda felt alone in the world, carrying a pain that seemed unbearable. The years went by, and life slowly dulled Amanda's pain.
Her contact with Jenny grew less and less until it disappeared entirely. Each went on with her own life until one day, everything changed. Amanda was at home when her phone vibrated. It was a message from an unknown number with no text, just a video attached. She hesitated for a few seconds before clicking, her heart already beating faster, though she didn't know why. As soon as the footage began to play, her body turned cold. The setting was the maternity ward where she had given birth years earlier. The recording seemed to have been made in secret, perhaps by a security camera. In the video, Jenny could be clearly seen, dressed in hospital scrubs, entering a room where two incubators stood side by side. Inside them were two newborn babies. One appeared lifeless, the other seemingly healthy. Amanda's hand flew to her mouth as she watched the nurse pick up the lifeless baby and approach Jenny. Jenny looked at the baby, then at the nurse, and gave a firm nod, as if she had decided on something irreversible. In the video, the nurse placed the dead baby in the incubator that, seconds earlier, had held the healthy infant. Then she took Amanda's baby, alive and strong, and handed him into Jenny's arms. It all happened in seconds, but for Amanda, every movement stretched into an eternity of suffocating pain. Her legs weakened beneath her. She paused the video, clinging to the absurd hope that if she rewound it, she might see something different. But no. The images were there, clear, cruel, undeniable. Her child had been taken from her before she even had the chance to hold him. Tears streamed down her face, her heart feeling ready to explode. It was as if the ground had opened beneath her, pulling her into a dark abyss. Memories of that day surged back, the nurse entering her room, the sorrowful expression, and the words that had shattered her. "I'm sorry, your baby didn't make it." Now Amanda understood that her pain had been built on a monstrous lie. A lie orchestrated by Jenny, the woman she had seen for years as distant but respectable. And to think that all this time her real child had been alive, in someone else's arms. The phone slipped from Amanda's hands and hit the floor. She dropped to her knees, her body trembling, hugging herself as if to keep her heart from breaking entirely. The sound of the wind through the window seemed to mock the suffocating silence in the room. The scenes replayed in her mind like knives slicing through her soul. The nurse's touch on the baby, Jenny's resolute gaze, and the exact moment she accepted the healthy infant into her arms. Amanda could almost feel the betrayal burning inside her. She picked up the phone again and watched the video once more, as if she needed to confirm that it wasn't a nightmare. But each time she watched, the pain grew, mingling with a swelling hatred and a sense of helplessness. Who had sent her this, and why now? The video ended with Jenny leaving the room, the baby in her arms, while the nurse adjusted the incubator to make it look as though the dead infant had been there all along. All of it was done with a chilling precision, as if it were just another routine procedure. Amanda closed her eyes, trying to catch her breath. She felt the urge to scream, to break something, or perhaps to run straight to Jenny and tear her child away. But part of her knew she couldn't act on impulse. This was bigger than a confrontation. This was a heinous crime. She grabbed her phone to call someone, but didn't know where to start. Tell the police? Find a lawyer? Go to Jenny's house and confront her? Every option felt as urgent as it was dangerous. The world spun around her, but Amanda was trapped at the epicenter of a storm. The sense of loss she thought she had overcome years ago now returned with multiplied force. But alongside it came a spark of determination. This time, she wouldn't cry alone in the dark. This time, she would fight. Amanda took a deep breath and wiped her tears. The woman who had walked out of that maternity ward years ago had been a broken mother. But the one holding that video now was ready to do whatever it took to get justice. And deep down, she knew this footage was just the beginning. In the last seconds of the video, Amanda noticed something she hadn't seen before. A reflection in the incubator's glass showed part of the face of the person filming. This wasn't from a security camera. Someone had been there, watching everything and keeping this secret for years. That revelation opened a new door in Amanda's mind. Who was this person? Did they have more evidence? And most importantly, would they be willing to speak? She knew she needed to find them. But before that, there was something else she had to do. Face Jenny. Gripping the phone tightly, Amanda stood up. The weight of her pain was still on her shoulders, but now there was also a fierce flame burning in her chest. She didn't have all the answers, but she had the truth on video, and that alone changed everything.
Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Amanda looked out the window and made a vow to herself. No matter how long it took, no matter how hard she had to fight, she would get her son back, and Jenny would pay for every single second of her lie. The impact of seeing him was so strong that Amanda could barely breathe. The boy, with a confident yet gentle demeanor, greeted her politely, having no idea who was standing before him. Amanda smiled, holding back tears, and introduced herself as an old friend of Jenny's. Deep down, every word felt like a stab, being so close and yet so far at the same time. In the meetings that followed, Amanda kept up the disguise. She talked with the boy, asked subtle questions, and paid close attention to every answer, trying to learn about the life he had lived, the life that should have been by her side. She listened to stories about hobbies, school, dreams, and though there was joy in knowing more about him, she felt herself shatter inside, imagining everything she had missed. Jenny seemed proud of the upbringing she had given him, as if showing off a trophy that wasn't hers. Amanda swallowed her anger, reminding herself that acting rashly could ruin everything. Each encounter was a test of her patience, but also an opportunity to build a bond with her son. One afternoon, while they were talking alone, the boy told her that he dreamed of studying music and traveling the world. Amanda listened intently, storing away every detail as if it were a treasure. She wanted to be part of those dreams, even if only in secret for now. And deep down, she felt that her son was beginning to sense a special connection with her, something even Jenny could never erase. But there was a problem. Jenny wasn't foolish. She began to notice Amanda's growing closeness to the boy, and though she tried to hide it, her eyes betrayed a certain discomfort. Amanda knew that sooner or later she would have to face her former friend, and that the right moment to expose the truth was still ahead. In the meantime, Amanda began to investigate quietly. She searched for documents, spoke to former hospital staff, and tried to find any clue that could strengthen her case. The recording was powerful, but she wanted more, something that would crush any lie Jenny might try to invent. One quiet night, Amanda watched the video again. The scene of the baby swap, carried out so coldly, still made her feel sick. It was living proof that Jenny had stolen not just a baby, but an entire lifetime of love between a mother and her child. Determined not to let it go on, Amanda devised a bolder plan to win her son's complete trust, so that when the truth came out, he would have no doubt about who was telling it. It was a game of patience, but she was ready to play it to the end. Weeks turned into months. Amanda, now more present in her son's life, found small opportunities to be near him. She brought discreet gifts, gave decidings, encouraged his dreams, all without ever revealing what she truly felt, the storm of love and pain consuming her inside. Jenny, on the other hand, seemed increasingly restless. Maybe she felt her secret was in danger, or maybe she sensed the growing bond between Amanda and the young man.
But Amanda was willing to go to the very end, even if it meant engaging in a silent war. In silence, Amanda watched, waited, and grew stronger. She knew that when the day of revelation arrived, everything would change forever. And despite the fear, there was also hope. Hope that her son would understand, forgive, and finally recognize her as his true mother. The tension between Amanda and Jenny grew with each meeting. Cold glances were exchanged. Words loaded with hidden meanings were spoken. It was clear that both knew something was coming, but neither wanted to make the first move. Inside, Amanda burned with anticipation. She dreamed of the day she could hold her son without hiding anything, of the moment she could tell him everything and free them both from the lie that had trapped them for almost 2 decades. But until then, she would continue her silent mission, waiting for the perfect moment to turn the tables and leave Jenny with no way out. When that day came, she knew there would be no turning back, and that finally, justice would not just be a wish, but a reality.
Years after receiving the video, Amanda was still struggling to reclaim the life that had been stolen from her. But the full truth only came to light when the very pediatrician who had declared Jenny's baby dead sought Amanda out. Her name was Dr. Helena, a serious woman with a tired look in her eyes, carrying a secret that would change everything. Dr. Helena entered Amanda's home holding an envelope, tears welling up in her eyes. She asked to sit down and, after a long sigh, began to tell a story no one could have imagined. On that fateful day, she had overheard Jenny and a nurse planning to swap the babies. In disguise, the pediatrician had secretly recorded the conversation, as well as footage showing Jenny and the nurse exchanging the babies in the examination room. She sent it to Amanda anonymously so that her identity wouldn't be revealed and her involvement would remain hidden. Dr. Helena confessed that she had kept this secret for a long time. The reason was bitter. She had been having an affair with Amanda's husband, George, and as long as he was with her, revealing that Amanda's baby was alive would have destroyed her chances of being with him. At the time, it was much easier for the pediatrician if Amanda believed her baby had died. That way, George would eventually drift away from her, which indeed happened months later, after a painful separation. Amanda felt the shock of betrayal twice over. Not only had her best friend stolen her child, but the doctor who was supposed to care for her and her baby had also betrayed her, using the situation for her own benefit. After George suffered a serious accident at work and passed away, Dr. Helena's conscience began to weigh heavily on her, making it impossible to keep the secret any longer. Driven by guilt, Helena finally decided to do the right thing. She anonymously sent the video to Amanda with a simple note: the truth must come to light. It was the first step for Amanda to begin rebuilding her life. However, nothing prepared Amanda for the day Helena showed up at her door to confess everything in person. The doctor was determined to go to the police and testify against Jenny and the nurse so they would be held accountable. Amanda listened in silence, a mixture of pain, relief, and newfound strength coursing through her. She knew the road to justice would still be difficult, but finally, light was starting to pierce the darkness that had surrounded her life for so long. With Dr. Helena's decisive testimony in hand, Amanda felt the moment had finally come to reveal the whole truth. She knew she couldn't just wait for justice to happen quietly in the background. It was time to turn the tables, to expose Jenny in front of everyone so that her mask would fall once and for all. Amanda also thought carefully about the right time to act. Her son was about to go on a trip with friends, which meant he wouldn't have to face public exposure or be directly involved in the confrontation. That gave Amanda the assurance she could strike without hurting the person she loved most.
Jenny, meanwhile, was thriving at the company where she worked and was about to receive a special honor at a major corporate party, attended by colleagues, bosses, and even the local press. Amanda saw in this the perfect opportunity to expose her former friend, to reveal the truth Jenny had tried to hide for almost 2 decades. In the days leading up to the event, Amanda planned every detail of her strategy. She arranged a live broadcast directly connected to the party's sound system. The video, recorded by Dr. Helena, showing Jenny and the nurse swapping the babies, was ready to be played before everyone.
On the night of the party, Amanda walked in with her heart racing, but her mind sharp and cold. Jenny was radiant, receiving congratulations and praise, completely unaware of what was about to unfold. The crowd applauded, celebrating a woman they saw as a symbol of success and virtue. When the time for the tribute came, Amanda asked to speak, surprising everyone with her unexpected presence. The room fell silent, and all eyes turned toward her, curious and puzzled. With a steady voice, Amanda began to speak about truth, justice, and how lies can destroy lives. Then, Amanda triggered the video, and the images began to play on the party's giant screen. Jenny and the nurse appeared clearly, swapping the babies, coldly plotting the betrayal. The room was stunned. Whispers and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Jenny, in disbelief, tried to deny it desperately. Her lips trembled, but the images didn't lie. She shouted that it was fabricated, a smear campaign, but her voice rang hollow and weak in the face of undeniable evidence. At that moment, the police, already alerted and ready to act, entered the party. Officers approached Jenny, who tried to run but was quickly restrained. Her face, once confident, now showed fear and despair. Amanda watched it all with a mix of relief and vindication. She knew that moment marked the end of a nightmare that had consumed her life for so many years. Her revenge was not driven by hatred, but by truth and the right to be the mother of the son she had always loved. As Jenny was led away in handcuffs, the crowd stood in silence, absorbing the gravity of what had just happened. Many came to Amanda to express their support, while others stared in awe at the woman who had courageously challenged the darkness to bring the truth into the light. Amanda felt the strength of victory, but also the peace that comes when justice is done. She knew that from that moment on, she could rebuild her life without fear, without shadows hiding her love and her truth. She slowly walked away from the party, knowing her story would be remembered not only for its pain, but for the courage it took to face the impossible. Her son, safe and far from there, would be the future she had always dreamed of. Amanda's revenge had not been an act of cruelty, but an essential step toward freedom. The freedom to be a mother, to love, and to live without lies. She was finally ready to embrace the present, certain that she had done everything she could to protect her family. And as the night fell, Amanda looked up at the starry sky and smiled, feeling that despite the scars, she had risen from the ashes stronger than ever. Justice had been served. Jenny, the nurse, and even Helena were convicted for their crimes. Jenny and the nurse for theft and baby swapping, and Helena for concealment of evidence and conspiracy. Amanda could finally breathe in relief. She had not only regained her son, but had seen the truth prevail despite years of suffering. The pain would never completely disappear, but now there was hope.
Amanda and her son began building a new life together. The bond between mother and son grew stronger each day, filling the empty spaces left by lost time. They moved into a simple house, but one full of love. Amanda devoted herself entirely to him, trying to make up for the years they had been apart, creating memories that no one could ever steal. The days of pain gave way to moments of joy. In her son's smile, now 18 years old, Amanda saw the reason to keep fighting, to believe that, despite everything, love always finds a way. The young man grew up feeling his mother's genuine love, even without knowing the full depth of the shadows that had once surrounded his story. Amanda hoped that one day he would understand the strength that had kept them together. The past, though painful, served as a constant reminder of the power of truth and justice. Amanda would never again allow lies to destroy her family. The journey had not been easy, but she knew the worst was behind them, and that, finally, her son was safe in her arms, where he had always belonged. This is the story of a mother who never gave up, even when life tried to take everything from her. Amanda shows us that with courage and determination, the truth will always find its way, and true love overcomes any obstacle. If you believe in the power of justice and hope, leave a like, share this story, and don't forget to follow the channel for more emotional stories like this one. Which part of this journey touched your heart the most? Tell us in the comments.